Hi folks, Rick here. Welcome to my channel. Alrighty. Well, today is maintenance day on the blue bike again. If you hadn't hit that subscribe button, please do. I really appreciate it. But yeah, let me kind of give you a little recap today. The last video, we had done full inspection front to rear and started some maintenance on the back of the bike. So I'd done, greased a pivot, your swing arm pivot bolt, pulled all the swing arm off, checked all my bearings, checked all my shock linkages, got all that stuff put back together. Everything was in good shape. Couple other things there from that point. I started with the electrical and really went through the electrical from at that point all the way from front to rear. I pulled all the connectors apart, cleaned everything as best I could. Again, I'm not trying to make this thing look fancy as much as I'm trying to clean it to get all the dirt and grime off the critical components. So a lot of my connectors actually had dirt and mud on the inside, so eventually that would have started corroded. So I pulled everything down, shot it with contact cleaner, put it back with some dielectric grease, so that's all good to go. That was pretty tedious. And then went really all the way through my steering stem, adjusted the valves, new spark plug, got my steering stabilizer all serviced. It's back on there, ready to go. Replaced the tie rods. If you remember, the tie rod ends were shot. Replaced those, got that back on. But there's a couple other things here, tips here I'll give you. So I was up here checking the front hubs and stuff like that and checking the front end, wiggling and jiggling. Everything felt really good here on my front hubs. Rotate them, they rotated nice and smooth, but when I was replacing the brakes, I had to pull the hubs off to put new brake rotors on. And while I was up on the bench, I could obviously get a better inspection, and so I was sticking my finger in there, spinning the bearings by hand. The inner bearings of the both fronts were actually, you could feel those things in there, and so I could not feel. It felt like they were rolling nice and smooth and were in really good shape when they were on the bike, but when they were off the bike, that inner bearing, you could feel it was starting to get a little bit rough. And so how much more longer that would have lasted, I don't know. But it was really odd. They did check good on the bike, but when I took them off, they were starting to go bad. So it was a good idea that I'd done that. So that's something there. If you haven't pulled your hubs in a while, they're really easy to get off. Just a cotter pin, a bolt, tap them, they'll pop off, obviously after you get your brakes off. Then you can go in there and do a good visual inspection there and really do one bearing at a time with your finger there and check them to see if they're bad. So I'd recommend doing that if you haven't done that in a while. That saved me some issues. I don't know how long that would have lasted. Would it last me another season or in mid-season or mid-race? Who knows? Something might have happened there. But check them out if you haven't there. Replacing the hub bearings is simple. They pop out with a punch, heat up your rotor, they slide back in. It's really a 10-15 minute job, nice and easy on that. So check that out. That was one of my inspections there, caught that. And so that's all in good shape. So one other tip here that I'll give you guys. Well, let me get the camera going here. Okay, so one tip I want to give you here. I was doing my steering stem, and if you look right here, this little umbrella, so there's my steering stem bushing here, and you'll see this little mud flap here I got. Now the factory has a really cheap one. This, I think, is an old inner tube or something. Basically what I've done is I wrap this around and zip tie it, and you can see here it acts as an umbrella. Way better than the factory one. So what happens is when you ride in mud, that mud comes up, hits your steering stem, goes right down into this bearing that's sitting right here. And this bushing right here, it's just a rubber bushing, and it fits, it's designed to be loose. So it does got some seals in there, but it's very easy for water, like when you're washing your bike, all that water is going to go right down to that bearing. It's really just a bad design. Again, they make a factory piece of rubber, but it doesn't do any good. So last year when I pulled this apart, I had a lot of mud inside my bushing, and it actually started to corrode my steering stem a little bit. So I got all that taken back together and got back in good shape, put a whole new bushing in there, new seals, greased everything. And then I put this big flap on here. This year when I pulled it apart, I didn't even need to service it. It actually looked just like it was when I put it back together. So this thing really helped quite a bit. Cheap, easy to do. You may have to pull your tank off, but just find a piece of rubber, wrap it around kind of like an umbrella to go over top of that. That'll keep it from flopping around, and it really does a good job of keeping the water and mud off. So that's a pretty good deal. If you haven't done it, it doesn't cost you anything. Just find something there that'll save your steering stem a lot of wear and tear. So with that, yeah, at this point here, you know, I'm about ready to put the thing back together. So I'm starting here. My next step is really going to get the tank on. Then from there, I'm going to start bolting on all the plastics. I got to get all my mud guards, that kind of stuff. Once I get the thing, all the plastics put back on, obviously Nerf bars back on and that kind of stuff, there's a bunch of things I got to torque there. So I need to go back. I got to torque my rear hubs, torque my axle, head my axle out. I got to get everything on the ground and get good torque back on that. Once I get all the plastics on, everything's gotten going, I got to get new tires. I'm going to at least get new rear tires. But once I get all those on, I need to check my ride height. That can change on you. I'm going to set my ride height, then I'm going to set my toe, double check my wheel alignment up on the front, reset my toe once I get my ride height to where I want it, then I'll be good to go. The very last thing I'm going to do is drop the oil on this thing there. So, and that'll be it. But that's it. So overall, you know, wasn't a bad year for maintenance. The valves, my exhausts were just a hair loose, nothing big. My intakes were a hair tight, nothing big. Just, you know, just a little bit off farther than I want to. That was it. Put a new plug in. I had to do brakes and rotors, front and rear, new hub bearings on the front, tie rods on the front, tie rod ends on the front, they popped out. Other than that, I think that was about it. Steering stem bushing was in good shape, just reserviced that. All the axle bearings were in good shape, didn't do anything with there. I already had a new chain and sprocket, everything was good there. Swing arm bearings, linkage bearings, all that stuff just re-greased. Everything's in good shape with that. All my electrical, battery, all that stuff's in good shape. Again, I'll replace the tires. My front end, you know, all my A-arm bushings, they all look good. Had no issues there. With the ball joints, they all feel really good. So really not too bad. Again, the engine on this one here, you know, this is the Yamaha Raptor. And you know, one of the benefits for me on this thing is the engine isn't a race engine. So it's just a regular motorcycle engine designed to run, you know, like 100,000 miles. Whereas like a 450, you know, like this bike right here, that's got a racing engine on there. You know, that piston's supposed to be in and out of there. You know, I think it says like every 15 hours. Obviously that's for racing conditions, but they have to be rebuilt quite a bit just because that's the way they're designed. Like this Raptor engine does not. So I don't really need to do anything. It's pretty bulletproof. It runs good. And I just keep maintenance on it. So that really makes the maintenance easier. Although I have spent quite a bit of time doing stuff. Really what I've been doing there is just preventative, you know, making sure I don't have gremlins next year. So hopefully this will go back together and I won't have any issues. Yeah, one other thing I did replace, I replaced the clutch cable. The clutch cable I had in there was a new one. But I noticed there just during inspections there, one of the clamps here, it came out of one of the clamps and touched the exhaust pipe, and it burnt the casing. The clutch still felt good, but I don't know what kind of damage it might have done to the inside, so I ended up replacing it. And when I got the thing out, it actually, the new one feels a lot better. So it could be the casing might have been melting a little bit on the inside. I don't think there was anything wrong with the cable like it was in danger of busting, but it's just stuff like that. You don't want to go out, start a new season with something, you know, that's marginal like that. So that was another thing I had to replace. But that was really it. Everything looked good. Throttle cables, all that system looked good. Just real oiled the cables. But yeah, it's done. So I'm gonna just keep after this thing. Hopefully we'll get this one wrapped up. Again, I still got some parts. I got some brake pins in the back that's still coming. Just stuff that gets in the mail this time of the year. You just never get it. And parts are on back order right and left. I'm sure you're all experiencing the same thing. So this one will be pretty much done. I've got a small 3-car garage, and I like parking the cars on the inside and keeping this stuff in the third bay for the snow. And so I'm really anxious. I want to get this one basically done so I can put it back on the trailer, get the trailer situated in the garage. I typically pile all my odds and ends on the trailer there, and then that'll give me enough room to work on one bike, which will start on the green one at that time. So I'm really kind of anxious here to get this one here finished and then get started on the next project. I'll have some videos out on that one. But yeah, almost done here. Next time you see it there, maybe I'll snap some pictures on Instagram and Facebook there when it's done. But yeah, not really doing anything. I don't think I'm changing the graphics this year. I think I'm sticking with 222 for the time being. We'll see how that goes. Not sure what's going to go on with sponsorship this year. Who knows? I might swap out graphics there. You know, another couple months for the season starts up, if a new sponsor comes on or something like that. But right now, everything's standing pat. And we'll just keep after this thing, and yeah, we'll look forward to next year there. So next time you see this thing, it'll be all the way back together. But that's really it on the maintenance there. Pretty easy. Again, it takes me a lot of time because I do a lot of detail, but it's more just inspection and preventative maintenance and make sure everything's 100%, you know, as best I can be. I'm not an expert at any of this stuff or anything else there. Funny story there. Actually, when I put the clutch cable on, I got everything ready to go. It's got a recluse in there, so I got to wait till I can start it up to adjust it. But I was over there moving some stuff around, and the little boot that covers your clutch cable is lying on the ground. It fell off, so I had to pull the whole thing all the way back off, put the boot back on. So I mean, it's just stuff like that. That stuff happens to me right and left. Again, I'm not an expert out here, but I just take my time, and that's all you need to do. Just you know, have a basic set of tools, take your time. Go slow, inspect, pull stuff apart, look at it, put it back together, and yeah, you can do all this stuff yourself. So that's it. Take care. Until we'll see you next time.